personality, you have a little whatever. Oh, we got a little delay there? I don't see me yet. There we go. Welcome back, everybody. Jeff, we done a show since the first of the year?
Yeah.
I can't even keep track.
This is our second one.
It's our second show of the year, so if you hadn't seen the first one, Happy New Year. Welcome back. We have a special guest here with us today, Gene O'Neill.
Junior.
Gene O'Neill, my apologies.
Okay.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Happy to have you.
Thank you.
We were just talking about, kind of life, really started with God's plan. We always have a plan, what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and then the reality sets in that we don't really have as much control of our plan as we think we do.
No, not at all. God's shifted my life completely 180 degrees around.
So a couple years ago, we chit-chatted about the car business.
Yep.
And then lo and behold, you end up Bullhead City Council.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear about how that came about.
Well, I'm a retired Army veteran, and I'm a member of the VFW post 10,005. So the day I joined the VFW, literally 5 minutes later, they put me in an elected office of a trustee at the VFW. So from day one in the VFW, I've been in a leadership role. A couple years later, I'm getting ready to retire from the car business, and that's when we had breakfast one day and
tried to recruit you.
Tried to recruit me for Findlay, and very tempting.
I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't at least try.
I'd been a car guy for 26 years, and I ended up going to the VFW, and was sitting down, and Mayor Brady, ex-Mayor Brady, he's a paratrooper, I'm a paratrooper, so we're buddies. And we were sitting there, and after the meeting, we're drinking some beer. And Mayor Brady comes up and says, "Why don't you run for post commander?" And I basically showed him my middle finger, and I said, "I don't want to do that." And then he looks at me, and we start drinking, and then he gets an idea. He goes, "You should run for city council." Once again, I showed him.
I got out-recruited by Mayor Brady?
Yeah. So,
man, I thought I was good at this recruiting thing.
So we're on our about third pitcher of beer down there, and we're drinking, and then he challenges me to run for city council. And I said, I don't know what a city councilman does. I had no idea to run for anything like this before. But he challenged me, and paratrooper to paratrooper. I'm looking at him, if I run, I'm going to win. And he starts laughing, and I go, what do I got to do to run? So next day I'm down there, I'm filling out paperwork. Yeah. And then they tell you got to go get like 400 signatures. So being a car guy and working here in Bullhead for 5 years.
That's easy, I got that.
Yeah, I got the signatures fairly quick, but election came, there was like 7 or 8 people running, and lo and behold, the guy who's only been here 5 years and sold cars here got elected, and I was surprised.
Yeah.
Now I said, damn, now I got to actually do this job. So that's.
So I think I see where I screwed up.
Yeah.
I tried to make that deal over French toast. He made that deal over beers.
Yeah.
I see how I lost out.
Yeah. So that's what it was. I always blame Mayor Brady, and me got drunk, and I decided to run, and I ran. But now I'm a city councilman, so I take it serious, and look at all the challenges the city has and the things coming up, and I'm kind of a guy that I keep my mouth shut until you piss me off, and then I open my mouth, and if there's a problem, I'm going to try to solve it. So concurrently at the same time, I've been a wild guy my whole life. I grew up in Connecticut, joined the Army when I was 17 years old. I retired when I was 39. I served in Korea, Germany, all over the United States. I've lived everywhere pretty much. I lived in Korea for 2 years. I lived in Germany for a couple of years. I lived in the Philippines for a year. So I've been all over the world, and I've been everywhere. And I'm on my 4th wife, so I'm not really good at marriage, but I really love this wife, and I'm trying to keep her for as long as possible. So we ended up leaving California. Back up. I retired in Texas. I got in the car business in Texas, and I was a big Toyota guy in Texas, and I got recruited to California by some people to run a dealership out there. I ended up working out there for all the way up until 2008. And then Gavin Newsom got elected, and I couldn't take California anymore with all the stupid that was coming. So we looking for a place in Arizona to live. And I had been coming to Laughlin for years in bowling tournaments because I was a big bowler. And just stumbled on Bullhead City. Originally, the plan was go to move to Parker and just drink my life away, and down on the
place
strip.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the plan. But then I realized I still needed to work, so I kept matriculating up the river till I got to Havasu, and then I fell in love with Bullhead the first time I took a wrong turn and went down towards Rotary Park, and Rotary Park was impressive to me. The day I drove through Rotary Park, there was a full-blown softball tournament going on. Yeah. Soccer was going on. There were kids playing at the skateboard park. The river was right there. The beach was right there. And I said, this is it. We spent the next 2 years trying to
We
look
have a
for
couple
house.
things here in Bullhead that when you're here, you take it for granted. You go other places and realize that not everyone has a Rotary Park type place or, that type of soccer facility with all those fields and all those tournaments and then to have the river run through it. It gets overlooked a lot.
Yeah, it's people, when you grow up here, you don't realize how this place has so much to offer. So much to offer. And now getting on city council now and starting to learn how stuff runs and see things going. And I'm pretty much a common sense kind of guy. I was a non-commissioned officer in the Army for 18 out of my 20 years. I got promoted fast, and I was always hands-on with the soldiers and doing stuff like that. So that's kind of how I approached the car business the same way. And let's sit down and just talk face to face. And you got a problem, let me see what I can do to help you.
So you had mentioned that getting into the city council was new to you.
Yeah.
And you weren't exactly sure what to expect. And it's been a little bit more than what you expected, or maybe a little less. You didn't actually specify.
Yeah.
What kind of surprised you about getting into city council?
Well, when you're sitting in the audience at city council and issues come up on the agenda, and you're sitting out there and you see that we vote 7-0, 7-0. Everything goes through 7-0 or 6-1, and it looks like it's rigged. And when I was sitting out in the audience, I'm thinking it's rigged. But what you're seeing in the audience, we have there's a lot of preparation into each agenda item. So as an individual council member, I could go directly to the city council, to the city manager, to the mayor, and talk to people in departments over there to actually figure out what the problem is. And then I'm the kind of guy that gets in my car and I'll drive down to where it's at and I'll walk the property and I'll look and I'll talk to people. So when I go up there to make that vote, I've already got my mind made up. It's not like this is the first time we're hearing it and people in the audience think this is the first time we're hearing it, we're going to hear an argument. But no, you're not. I've either got my mind made up or I've made and there's all these laws that the city council cannot meet in secret. You can't even have 3 guys at the same time somewhere talking about city business. So these are rules that are in place. So if 4 people on the city council were at McDonald's, we really can't sit and talk to each other about that stuff. So that makes it a problem. So you got to go through channels to try to actually go to where the problem is and see what's going on. Example, when I got elected, the water company, the city taking over EPCOR, was a big thing. So when I got elected, I made it a point to go sit down with Mark Clark, and Mark Clark gave me spent like 2 hours driving to every lift station, every problem, every well that had a leak in it. And I went out there and saw everything for a whole day. And we've done this twice now. Mark Clark's a solid guy, and he's so smart about the water system that we're lucky that we have a guy like that there.
And we don't want to get into the weeds of the actual thing, but I was actually shocked to find out that our water was controlled or owned by a Canadian town conglomerate who was then making money off of us, the taxpayers, and the city. I was just talking to some guys over there about how much of this, the way this world works, is foreign to us.
Right.
And I don't, for the sake of the interwebs, we won't get into some of the other things that I'm just shocked about in the world.
Right.
But that was very eye-opening, and I can't imagine that that's stuff that, unless you're involved in it, you expect that you're going to be having to deal with.
Yeah, some of the stuff, like when we bought EPCOR, I voted no. All right, and then for whatever reason, I mailed my ballot in a week before, and I put it right at the post office on Lakeside. And I figured, no problem. Me and my wife went on vacation. When we came back, our envelopes was returned because it took more than 10 days to get from Lakeside post office to where they counted the ballots. So evidently our mail goes to Vegas and sits
Oh,
for a
yeah.
while and comes back. So I believe that vote passed by like 7 votes, and me and my wife were 2 no votes. So that really pissed me off, which is really when I went, okay, so that's behind us. The city voted to take it over. Now that we took it over and all the problems we found, we're car guys. It's like we bought a used car sight unseen,
Right.
and the guy selling me
Once
the
you
car.
own it, you still got to solve it.
Exactly. Once we bought the car we opened the hood and everything was messed up. So now.
Not that anyone ever brings us cars that aren't what they said they were.
Correct. So what the city did was bought a used car and got taken by a used car salesman that didn't want to sell us the car.
Yeah.
We bought it, now we own it, now we got to fix it. That's why there's a whole lot of money going out trying to fix what we got, and it's our responsibility to keep the water flowing and make sure your toilet flushes.
And so my understanding is when that happened, it turns out it was not like it was a first of its kind case. There had been other things like it, other situations. And actually one of the things I wrote down on here, because I've been trying to get Toby to come on here and talk to me about the golf course.
Oh, okay, I'll tell you about that.
So, where I grew up, there actually are a bunch of municipal golf courses. So it didn't seem that weird to me.
Right.
And it looks like it's getting improved very quickly.
Yes.
But is that a similar situation where you have very conflicted people on what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Is this falling into like a park thing? What's the story on things like the golf course?
The golf course had been there, I guess, 40 years. I've only been here since 2018. So when I got here, I'm a golfer, and I looked at the golf course. I never played it because it was kind of dried out all the time. And it didn't look like a great golf course compared to Laughlin Ranch. So
It was once way better.
yes, I agree. People tell me that.
We
but
golfed
I-
there in high school. I'm very sorry to all the houses. We were high school golfers, and we destroyed those poor houses. I felt so bad. And but the course was in decent shape. You're talking about that's around 2000-ish.
Right.
And
So
then it was very poor shape at the end.
the organization that was running the golf course, slowly over time, people get elected, people don't know their jobs, et cetera, et cetera. The golf course was in disrepair. So the golf course came to the city and said, we got a plan. We want to get rid of the golf course, but we don't want our homes to be, we don't want to sell it because somebody could put homes in there. And we don't want more homes in there. We want to keep that space green. So they brought it up to Toby. Toby brought it up to the city council and the mayor in a closed door session where we were talking about it. And just so happens that and I don't know the guy's name, and I'm sorry for this. It's one of our city employees that used to be a golf course superintendent that takes care of Rotary Park. If you go down there and look at the soccer fields at Rotary Park, it's beautiful grass. We got some of the
great
best
grass.
The best grass in Arizona, probably. Well, that guy was he went to school for being a golf course superintendent. That's why the golf course is flipping. So we already had a golf course superintendent on the payroll department at the Parks Department. We basically bought the golf course for what they owed people. We didn't really pay anything for the golf course. So we took over their outstanding debt, and a lot of that was to the water company. That's what they didn't have enough money to pay the water bill, but who owns the water company? Us. So, and then there's back taxes that are owed that once the city takes it over, the state will kind of smooth that over. So it looks like on paper we bought it for $400,000, but it's going to be much easier than that. We took over an agreement to take over this golf course before the paperwork was signed, so that's why the golf course looks so good now. We actually have water on the golf course. We have a golf course superintendent in-house that it's going to make that course number one. It's going to be a number one.
You talk about the grass in Rotary, and I know that the grass is actually different, but what is now the Bighorn Field or whatever used to be Firebird Field.
Right.
And when they brought in that turf, it's the best grass literally in the town. And then they got another field that's the same field at the Boys and Girls Club in Fort Mojave that's struggling. It's not getting the attention. And so you can see the difference between professional care and, I mean, that grass is like the day they got it.
Yep.
And the one over at the Boys and Girls Club is rough.
Yeah, the Parks Department guys here do an amazing job. They're out there every morning. I'm an avid bicycle rider. I'm not a cross-country guy or anything like that, but I ride my bike all the time. I put over 27,000 miles on bicycles in the last 10
Electric
years.
bike or pedal bike?
Pedal bike,
Oh,
pedal
okay.
bike. Well, I had a heart attack and a couple of strokes, so I kind of got to keep moving
Yeah.
and stuff. So I ride through that park daily. If you ever see a guy in a bright yellow shirt with a stupid hat on, that's probably me driving around. I'm all over Bullhead.
Well, hopefully
riding.
they see you with the bright yellow shirt. That's the point,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, because I got run off the road a
Nothing
couple
drives
of
me
times.
crazier when
Yeah.
somebody's walking and they're wearing black on black,
Black
with
on
gray,
black,
and
yeah.
you're like, you literally look like a road.
Yeah.
I would have maybe worn a little color, a
Yeah.
little reflector. One more thing about the golf course. Will there be any benefit to the residents other than having a nice access to a golf course? I know municipal courses and other places have some nice deals for locals, things like that. Is that something that's in the plan, or does it need to be sustainable?
No, I just think taking care of the course is going to take care of
It's
itself.
actually one of the more affordable courses to play already.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We don't have plans on raising rates or anything like that. We just wanted to make sure that the golf course looked good and people would play it. If you build it, they will come, kind of thing. There are some capital improvements that we're going to have to do. There's some stuff in the clubhouse, some stuff at the pool and stuff. It's going to be an open deal. It's not going to be a private club anymore, so anybody and their brother can come down there and play. There's no plans at this point in time to raise any prices on everything. Just us taking over, and they didn't even fire anybody there. Everybody that was working there still works there. We usually, when the city takes something over, we try to absorb the people out of there and bring them into the city payroll to try not to screw something up.
I know that was really crucial in regards to the water company. I know that some of them water folks were really freaked out and upset, and then absorbing most of them and not skipping a beat was a big part of that success. So, you had mentioned some of these things coming together and some of the bigger issues of the city. What are some of the things coming up? One of the things I've noticed is somebody, I believe the city is taking over maintaining 95. Is that correct?
Correct.
And they've added some right turn lanes.
Yes.
Thank God.
Yeah.
The one by the high school was so bad.
Yep.
And I assume there's some other, big tent issues that you guys are taking on. What else is on the agenda of the city council?
The I-95, we took it back from Arizona, so just the part that's in Bullhead, so as soon as it turns to Fort Mojave, that isn't ours. So the part of 95 that runs through Bullhead is ours. I believe there's a total of 8 right-hand turn lanes that were already funded for. We had the money in the bank before we took over the 95. We got grant money to make those right-hand turn lanes. There's a big one going in front of Safeway. That's going to be the one that's going to take a while because there's that ditch in front of Safeway down in Bullhead, so that's got to get filled in, and there's going to be right-hand turn lanes there, so it's going to alleviate some of the traffic. There's one going in at a community park right now that's being done. There's a few that got knocked out near Cocktails in that little area there that are already done. So there are, and the one at the school was a priority. So that stuff's going on. There is developments that the city's looking at that people came in. Right now, if you notice, right in front of Swantees on 95, that big open area there, City Center project. There is a company that came in and purchased that whole thing of land, and there is a plan for approximately somewhere between 500 to 1,000 houses to go in there. They're gonna, and the people ask this question all the time. If you go at the end of Train Road and Marina, you can see they're starting to clear land there, and there's water, and you can see when a company comes in to put in a housing development, they're responsible for putting the roads, the sewer, the lift station if there's one needed there, all the stuff on the street. So the city doesn't pay for that. That contractor will have to make a plan, file it with the city, and put all that infrastructure in. So the city's not paying for the infrastructure, the guys are. And that's the first part of the project. There's gonna be quite a few houses going in there. When they get it done, between 95 from Swanee's to about equal with Alana Way, where the DMV comes out, that Alana Way will cut all the way across, all the way to Riverview. And it's gonna be kind of a windy road. There's gonna be a circle in there. They're gonna put a fountain in there. And it's gonna make it like a downtown city center.
That's great.
All this stuff you can find out. You can go to the city's website. You can see the plans for it. But when they get it done, it's gonna be like walking in an old town city. They're gonna have storefronts that are right up to the sidewalk, and then the parking will be behind it. They got some plans for different type of structures down there.
Now, is that, is that one of those things that those homes will essentially sustain those businesses in there, do they think? Obviously, you're not intricately involved, but
they're not going to put the cool thing about that. They're going to make it relatively affordable housing. And what do I mean? What I mean by affordable and what other people mean by affordable might be different.
for sure.
The houses that are going to go on that block are not supposed to go over $250,000. So there's going to be a mixture of apartments, stick-built homes, and manufactured homes.
Which
is
by everything we read, is the affordable housing is one of the biggest issues.
right.
Yeah.
Right. We do have there are a couple apartments that as soon as they put them up, they're filled up. We have a few of those, and they're really nice if you ever get a chance to look at them.
Yeah, and that's prime, right in the middle of the city. So
Right. Yeah. So that's gonna be a real good project. The other project that came up that I don't know it's got as much steam as the city center project is happening right now. Might be 8 to 10 years before that thing's fully full. The other one was the Emerald Bay Golf Course project, which I don't know where that is because they had to do something with BLM to buy the land around the Anderson Fieldhouse area. There was a plan to put 3 9-hole golf courses, so I have 27 holes of golf with houses in between the golf courses, and then put some.
I heard there was actually some issues with some of the property owned by the field house and what they needed for space. And, it's actually really interesting. A lifetime ago, I was mildly involved in that field house project coming around and getting the property and the people to, it's such an ordeal down there. Who owns the property? The nature center's the other direction, but
Right.
also part of that. It's on the river. That's a part of that. It's a really, really complicated thing, and I don't think people realize what an accomplishment it was to even get the field house existing.
Yeah, the field house is amazing. The field house is amazing. The plan for Emerald Bay they were kind of aggressive. They were going to put a bay in there so you could pull your boat right off the river and park it. There was crazy.
I've been asked. Listen, if you want any proof that I have zero pull with Toby, I've been asking him to build like a Jack Smith style marina
Yeah.
somewhere that's within distance of me to launch my boat for as long as I've known him, and
Yep.
we don't have one. So
I know. I hear you. I hear you. The other thing is behind, across the street where the water treatment facility is, they are putting there's another housing area going in right there. It's going to be extension. They're going to take behind Boot Barn, that little shopping center. I can't remember what it's called. They're going to actually make that a street behind there, and there's going to be I think it's 150 houses going in there.
Wow.
Stick-built homes that are going to pop up back there. So that,
straight up sand dunes down there.
yeah, straight up sand dunes right now. And
Been stuck many a time.
yeah, they
back
got,
in them sand
well,
dunes.
it's going to be a little bit less, but that's actually breaking ground as we speak.
Oh wow, very exciting.
There's a lot of building projects, and that's part of being on city council. We get a,
So then I got to ask you. I can jump right into the controversy. Where's this Olive Garden? We've been hearing about it.
Olive Garden is coming. That's actually for real.
It's like a running joke on the internet.
Yeah, I know.
We just, we always hear about it. We're waiting for all these things to show up. We know it takes time, but
No, it's actually going to be here quicker than you think. They already made a deal on the land. And this is something I can't really talk about, but there's going to be changes at the airport. But the land around the airport belongs to the airport. And Olive Garden, if you're driving down 95, when you see Home Depot, there's a little turn before you get to Home Depot. That will be a street, and the Olive Garden will pop up right there. So that's where
very
Olive
exciting.
Gardens are going. There's also some rumor that we could get a Texas Roadhouse and some other things there. And
throw my diet
once-
right back out the window.
once again, I got a meeting today at 1 o'clock that I'm going to be in. So there's some things going. Everybody's asking for things, but
Well, listen, if you can get something just above the airport, right next to Findlay,
yeah.
that would be great. So we could have a little easier access to snacks and whatnot. But
Yeah.
I'm sure Maverick would be pissed because it's a forever train of Findlay employees running to Maverick to get things. So, we're talking about kind of rumors on the internet and whatnot. It was actually kind of what caught my attention is you made a pretty long post explaining who you were.
Okay.
And, you don't have to explain anything you don't want to explain, but it seemed like you were, yeah, here we go. And you know, you already told me it just ate at you. You didn't have to do that, but you know, you kind of gave your resume, who you are, veteran, Christian, city council member, car guy, which I'm sure is probably the biggest blemish on your resume, right? But you know, it kind of caught my eye, and I thought, what is really this coming about? And you know, maybe tell me a little about why you felt compelled to put that out there.
Well, it's kind of deeper than that. Basically, what it is, it's there's a lady that's a nice lady that tries to help the homeless and tries to do things for homeless people, but she kind of, to me, is kind of like Don Quixote. She's fighting windmills that aren't there,
Right.
and that's kind of what happened there. She's a nice lady. I've talked with this lady.
Good intentions, I
Good
assume,
intentions.
trying to help the
good
homeless.
good
Yep.
intentions, but she got twisted up with some people that put stuff in her head that's not actually true. And what I did is, because I didn't grow up here like you and some of the other guys, and I'm new here, that I felt like I had to defend myself, because if you question my integrity, you might say I'm an asshole, you might say what I am,
Right, yeah, sure.
but don't question my integrity. To be a man, your yes means yes and your no means no. And when I say yes, I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. If I say no, no. It's not a maybe thing. It's not a sort of, or nobody's looking at me. It's integrity. As a sergeant in the Army, you lead by example. If I can't ask you to do something, if I can't do it, I'm not going to ask you to do it. And that's kind of how I live my life. And it's back into my Christianity. I was away from God for a long time, and the last 2 years, Jesus Christ has changed my life 180 degrees. A lot of people down on Hancock know me from the bars. My goal in life was, when I retired, to just go to a bar and sit there and drink until I got to be 300 pounds and do whatever I wanted to do, right? Life didn't work out that way. When I retired from the car business, I fell into this city council thing, and I have more free time, so I'm doing more things like that. When I was out knocking on doors getting signatures for my city council run, I met this lady. Her name is Tammy LaFond. Nice lady, had a store inside the Bazaar on 95, which is at the end, like where Avalar's Mexican restaurant was at the end of 95. She had a store in there, and a lot of homeless people running around, as everybody knows, in that area of town.
Right.
And they would matriculate over to her store, and she would let them trade clothes out, like take her dirty, and she'd clean up the old clothes and put them out, you know, let people have them. So she's doing a lot of stuff with homeless. I'm involved with Praise Chapel. That's where I go to church at, and I took over the men's discipleship program about a year ago, because God was bugging me to take it over since.
He didn't want you in the bars.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. I don't go to bars anymore, but I'm sorry, the people at Hardyville and everybody else. I'm not down there anymore, Poorhouse and stuff. But this all goes together. The guys from the men's home, when they were not working at the food bank, hang around at Liquor Castle and go around, and they were telling the lady lies, and she got all fired up against Praise Chapel, and I walk in to get a signature, and that's how we met, and I sat down and talked with her one-on-one. We actually helped her out with a refrigerator to keep the drinks cold for the people, and that was from Pastor Stephen at Praise Chapel. We had an extra refrigerator back there that we gave her, and we did it, and I was trying to smooth stuff over, but I haven't talked to her in a few months, and then she got on this tangent that when I asked for a $25,000 donation to the Bullhead Regional Food Bank, the food bank is right behind the chapel. They're two different entities, but they're on the same property. And I'm backing up here. Every year, the food bank gives away turkey dinners at Thanksgiving, and they try to do the same thing for Christmas. When we had the sign-ups this year, we had 600 turkey dinners. Within the first 2 hours, we had 600 people sign up, and we still had another day of people to sign up. So we didn't have enough turkey dinners for the people. So I went to the city. I got the city council to put an amendment together, and we kicked in another $25,000. So we actually had enough turkeys to cover Christmas and Thanksgiving. And that thing there, she took that $25,000 as me, because I'm on the Praise Chapel board, which I'm not. I'm just a volunteer down there. that I was getting money for the church and we were funneling it somehow into my pockets, which is not the case at all.
Sure.
Which is not the case at all. I got 40 guys. I started out with 45 men in that discipleship program, which is basically a homeless place for guys on the street. I'm dealing with guys right out of jail. I'm dealing with drug addicts. I'm dealing with people that are kind of broken.
Is that in the same vein as what Pastor Cates was doing
Pastor
years
Cates
ago?
started it years ago, and he's in his 80s right now. And Pastor Stephen, who's the assistant pastor, is now running the food bank full-time and doing assistant pastor. So I took that over from him to kind of be down there every day and be like a sergeant for all these homeless guys.
So many years ago, we went down and donated just time to hand out meals. And it was a fairly small operation. I say we, Findlay, general manager, thought it was a good idea for us to get out, which it was. And so we've been doing it for years, off and on, when we can, when we have the staff, when the timing's right, depending on what's going on in the dealership. And we went down this year, and cars were lined up as we got there, before they started handing out food, as far as we could see towards the river. And we were there for hours, and they had a great group of people. I think we were in the way as much as we helped.
That's okay.
There's like too many people, it was one of those deals. Like everybody wanted to help, and there was just, there's only one hand to hand,
Yep, I got you.
And it's a pretty staggering program. The amount of need out there for people, it was unbelievable. And so first, I would like to say kudos to you guys for doing all that. It was unbelievable. It always opens our eyes, and we are very appreciative that people like you guys are out there doing it. And two, I can imagine how frustrating that is to. It seems like two people trying to do good things in the same vein and having friction. I can imagine how frustrating that is. So
I like the lady. I don't have an ill will toward her. She showed up at last city council meeting. I was expecting her to make a scene. She didn't. She was cool. It's just a misunderstanding, and she's playing it all out on Facebook like it's a conspiracy, but it's not. The other thing I want to talk about, the food bank is open 5 days a week down there. Actually, 4 days. They have Tuesdays, they bring stuff in. The food bank there's nobody paid down there. Everybody that works at the food bank is either volunteers, mostly from our church at Praise Chapel, and then the guys from the men's home to pay for the room and board, they volunteer at the food bank. When I was first starting to go to church again, and I was just a regular knucklehead out drinking, running around chasing girls and everything else. When I met Pastor Stephen, and I was in the city council, I was trying to get people to sign up my list. I had maybe 2 signatures on it. And I didn't even know what a city council guy did, so I started going to the council meetings before the election so I could get an idea. He sat down and started talking to me, and this is the weirdest thing ever. And I'm not a Jesus guy really, but I heard inside my body, follow him. And I get emotional thinking about it. And it was God talking to me. And I started going to the church the next day, and it just blew my mind. I stopped drinking. I was not in good health. I got heart disease. I'm a diabetic. I weighed 240 pounds. I stopped drinking, started getting serious about my medicine and doing stuff like that. I'm down 185 pounds right now. That's through the grace of God.
Good for you.
Congratulations.
The other thing with that is I started volunteering. I was trying to work off my bad lifestyle. I'm on my 4th life, all right? I got kids, I got things, I try to keep everything under control. But how God has changed my life, and it's not like the sky opened up or anything like that happened. It just happened from inside. And instead of being an asshole to homeless people, I started changing my mind and saying, well, let's go down and see what you could do to help somebody. So I started busting my ass at the food bank. And I didn't go to work, I'd go to the food bank. and I was pulling carts and doing everything. My arms, because I'm diabetic, anytime they're kind of cleaned up right now, but I was getting bruises up and down my arms. My wife's going, "What are you doing?" Going down there. And a good day at the food bank 2 years ago was when we got 100 people fed in one day, 100 families. So we were filling up 70-pound carts and dragging them out to people's cars in 120-degree heat all day. And now the need, after 4 years of Biden and the way that the economy is going, and it's starting to turn around right now, they're feeding a ridiculous amount of people down there. We are feeding 300 to 400 families a day. You go down there at any time when the food bank is open, there's people lined up. There's also a bunch of racks behind the church. The racks behind the church have donated clothing back there. As fast as that gets filled up while people are waiting to go through the food bank, they're picking out, and they're not crappy clothes. They're stuff people cleaning out their closets and throwing back there. So this thing is, God gives you a little seed and then it grows, and we're feeding a ridiculous amount of people. They did 390 some odd people 2 days ago, and I'm going like, that, you don't know how many times you got to pull a cart for 390, 60-pound carts, 390 times back and forth that area down there. It's just incredible the amount of people we're feeding and the amount of lives that are being touched. We got a lot of great churches here. That's one of the greatest things about Bullhead. The amount of churches that we have and people helping, it's amazing. And the amount of people out here, the best thing about Bullhead, day one, forget everything, it's the people in Bullhead. I was down there partying with the guys on Hancock Road. I got drunk and fell out of the poorhouse a couple of times. All right, I've met all kind of people, and the people all pull together here, and the people will help out.
We have a very, very uniquely close community, and especially where we don't have a lot of, big industry to pick up a lot of those needs and things like that, and the community comes together, whether it be through the community groups, donations. I'm sure that with your time at Anderson, they give back a lot. We give back a lot.
Yeah.
And that's not normal in a lot of places.
Nope.
Especially where a lot of places they maybe do it in the large corporate scale of things, where a lot of things go directly to the people that need it. And it is a unique part of this community.
The Anderson was doing it a lot back in the day. You guys picked up the slack because they're not doing as much anymore. Findlay and Anderson are getting a lot back to the community. The guys at both stores, your car guys don't always get a bad rap. They're really nice people. All the places, nobody's out there to be a crook to you, because both organizations, they do the best they can with what you got, trying to make deals for people.
We're a collection of very chatty fellas who found a place to apply our skills.
Absolutely, absolutely. Matter of fact, when I got hired at Anderson, I was working with your dad.
Oh, yeah.
Me and your dad were like sitting next to each other at desks and stuff. He's a
Yeah,
good
my
guy.
dad spent a lot of time in the car business,
Yeah.
and it was good to him. And then, which is, I talked about how the leap in technology was just, I don't want to say overwhelming, it's probably frustrating to him, And it's very much where I'm at with a lot of things now with the AI and all the other stuff. And I'm thinking, what is all this nonsense? Like you said, we're people, we're going to talk to each other, we're going to make a deal, you can shake hands, it's not that complicated. Now you got, listen, you got 8,000 things confusing everybody, all to pay the same price. And it's such a weird time in the car business. But when it really comes down to most people, it comes down to relationships.
Yep.
Having a good relationship, treating people right, and it's how everything in life ends up boiling down.
Like I said, it goes back to your yes means yes and your no means no. You do the right thing all the time, you can't go wrong. And I'm not, once again, I'm not a guy that's going to quote scripture at you because I just started reading the Bible. But the two things I try to do is, when Jesus, the last week he was alive, he had a conversation with the Pharisees, and they were trying to trip him up about what's the greatest commandment. And basically Jesus said, you only got to live your life with two things: love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. I try to do that second part I do both parts, but I try to do that second part as much as possible. So, yeah, I am. I'm the vice commander now of the VFW. I'm really involved with West Care because of my guys in the homeless. I'm involved with the probation department now since a lot of my guys are in trouble with the law. So now the people at probation knows me. I got veteran court today because I'm a mentor at the veterans court. So veterans in town that got in trouble with the law, they assign you a mentor, and I have 4 guys in that. I got dragged into drug court now, so we got a really good judge in drug court and a lot of good people between Southwest, West Care, places like that. I'm going to have to miss the homeless task force today because I can't go there because I have a meeting at 1 o'clock. They bounce off each other. So like today's one of these things where I'm coming.
You're really retired poorly, you know
Yeah,
that?
I am. I do more now than I did ever before. My wife never sees me, which is probably good for her because I'm not around to get in her hair. But
So you have a couple things that you mentioned, and I don't know what your time. If you have to run at some
I
point,
don't
you
have
let
to-
me know.
I can talk as long as you need me to.
Well, I tell you, I'd like to ask you a couple things.
Yeah.
One, you talked about like hearing God's message, right? When you told your pastor that, what did he say?
He expected it. Well, he didn't know. When we sat down, me and Pastor Steve, he's 41 years old. He's like my son. But when we met, we just clicked, and then I had a car guy. He wasn't going to sign my thing, and I go, come on, man. Yeah, I put the pen in his hand. I made him sign my papers because I'm a car guy. But then I heard that thing said follow him, and I'm going. Usually on Wednesday nights, I was going to go head to the bar. I was going to hit the VFW or AMVETS or something like that. And then that night, I left my house and I drove down to the church. And I ride my bicycle past Praise Chapel, and it's probably the ugliest church you're ever going to go. I loved
Not
it.
the big beautiful steeples, not the
Nope,
cathedral.
When you go in there,
Yeah.
the ceiling tiles are falling off. This building here is a lot better than our church, but it's not the building that makes the church, it's the people.
Yeah.
So when I walked in and I got up to the front door and he saw me, he goes, you really came. I said, I told you I would. He gave me a big hug, and just like there, it's just, it's amazing. It's the first time I actually felt the Holy Ghost. Your hair raises up, and I didn't know what was going on. I didn't understand it. I was still drinking and partying and doing things I shouldn't have been doing. And it slowly just turned me around. And then I decided that can't live like this no more. I got to do something better if I want to get to heaven. So I started applying. What I used to do partying, I now do trying to help people. And it's rewarding. At the end of the day, you might have a 5-car day, and that's great, and it's good for me. But I've actually taken 8 guys out of the men's home and got them back with their families. And I got 2 of the guys up on their feet with jobs, living on their own. Out of homeless to living in, one of them's, both of them are employed at Anderson. One in the sales department and one down at the power sports store.
That's great.
So that's just 2 of the guys I'm helping. But it just gives somebody, sometimes all people need is just a pat on the back and somebody to sit down and listen to them. Don't worry that the guy smells, because you could always clean him up. He's got crappy clothes. I can get him nice clothes. Sit down and talk to me, and let's talk about God. And one thing at the men's home, we read Proverbs every day. We start the day off, we read a chapter of Proverbs. And they're not hard. It's like 20 or 30 little 2-line deals. And it's just common sense. Yeah. It's just full of common sense. If you hang around with dummies, you will be a dummy. If you hang around with 5 dummies, you're going to be the 6th dummy.
That's right.
And
I
it's
agree.
stuff like that. It's in the
100%.
Bible. And you put it in basic. I don't read the King James Version because it's too like Shakespeare to me. But there's the New NIV Bible. I didn't even know that there were different Bibles.
A lot of
I
different
had
versions.
not a deep, NIV just kind of puts it in English for me. And reading that stuff, I'll be up there reading to the guys, and I hear that, and I go, remember when you did this to him yesterday? This is what that's talking about. And you look at him, the light comes on. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You know? Because people don't realize they're bad or they're good, because people are all caught up in their own bullshit.
Yeah.
People are all caught up in their own bullshit. But when you start selfless, it's another army trait. lead by example, and selfless service, and that's what Jesus was about, giving to everybody else. I'm making this a big religious thing, and I'm not that kind of guy, but I can't keep this in any longer. So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to say this.
There's a very, very fascinating phenomenon where, America was getting much less religious over the last 30, 40 years.
Absolutely.
And it's spiking back the other direction. It's a really, really interesting thing. And hearing how you came to that is actually, it's beautiful, man. Like, I don't know what the cool way to say that is, but it's beautiful. It's fantastic.
And it's right there. Anybody could do this. I'm a guy that barely graduated high school. I survived 20 years in the military. I lived in so many different countries, and it's as a 64-year-old guy getting ready to be 65. Life gives you little setbacks, but you could overcome them, and you don't even realize that God's carrying you along sometime. I got in a military car wreck when I was 19 years old, and I absolutely should have been killed, and I was expecting to die because of the way that the vehicle flipped over on me, and I got laid on the street. It was like God put his hand out and just laid me on the street, and I was laying there hearing the crash of everything going around me, and when I opened my eyes, this is at Camp Roberts, California, probably in 1980, and I'm opened my eyes and I saw the sun. I honestly thought I was dead. And I go, I should be hurt right now. I was waiting for this thing to hit me, and I was laying in the middle of the street, and I looked to my left and right, and there was helmets and there was rifles and crap all over the street, and I go, I didn't have a scratch. I had not a scratch.
Helmets and helmets.
I had to go back in and pull people out of the wreckage and stuff, but I was like, I should be dead. I was literally should have been dead. And then there was a lot of things in life that you don't even realize. So I got in a bar fight with 5 guys because my mouth overlapped. And I got beat up pretty good, but I didn't get killed. There's stupid things. You played football. You're an athlete. I did that at a lesser level. Things that just happened. I had a job as a kid. I was a trap house boy on a skeet range. And I came out of the trap house, and a guy fired a shotgun at me, not knowing that I was my head coming out, not a clay target. He wasn't paying attention. And I stood up, and I heard the bullets, the shot go over my head, and I got hit in the head with a plastic wad. That's how close that was to blowing my freaking head off.
Yeah.
There's so many little stupid things like that God saves you through, and you're wondering what their purpose is. You don't really know. I thought I was going to be like...
And one day it hit you.
Yeah, I was going to be drinking on the beach in Parker, just put my toes in the sand. And now I don't even drink anymore. I don't do any of that stuff anymore. It's just amazing.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about a couple things that you had just mentioned, and I just wanted to kind of, you mentioned, it's so fun to talk to car guys because we speak a language that the normal folks don't get. But I understand completely when you say, all right, cool, you had a 5-car day. That's good for you, but it's not very fulfilling.
Nope.
It's very bizarre, and even especially under Chris Bancroft's leadership, we make it about so much more than just selling the car. It's really about personal growth and other things. But where I found a lot of that fulfillment that I didn't know I needed when I was going through some tough times was coaching football.
Yeah.
And I realized, wow, it was so much more fulfilling when someone said, thanks, coach, for something than it was to, and I made good money in car business. I'm very appreciative. And it was a different type of fulfillment. And I haven't been coaching football for about a year and a half now? Almost 2 years. And there is a void. I'm missing it. I'm missing it,
There's opportunities out there if you and sometimes, like I said, I was the guy when I'd be driving my car and stopped at a stop sign. I lived in Texas. I'd lived in California, and you'd stop and there'd be a guy, homeless vet, begging for money, and that used to piss me off because I'm saying, I'm a veteran. Why don't you get up and work, dummy? You know how to do this. But I would never talk to those guys, and now that I'm interacting with these dudes on a daily basis and feeling that out. If you want to do something, volunteer. Figure out a place. Boys and Girls Club, Little Leagues out here.
There's a lot of need.
There's a lot of need. There's a lot of people out there. Just sitting down and talking to somebody one-on-one. This stupid post that this lady made that I was I felt
compelled to
respond to that and write down some of the stuff I did. And one of the guys goes, "Hey, you must walk on water, all this stuff that you did." And that kind of hit me. And I said, well, if I could walk on water like Jesus, that would be awesome. But I'm never going to get there. But thank you for saying that. But it's not about tooting up your own horn. It's about how many people that you could pull along with you.
Yeah.
It's how many, like when you're coaching football, those kids will always remember you as coach. They will always. I was coaching Little League during my time in Louisiana in the Army. So I was jumping out of airplanes and doing stuff. And then I was missing my kids because I was divorced at the time. So I started coaching a Little League baseball team on post. And they had Pony League, and it's a traveling league in Louisiana. So I was worried, so they had two teams. So they gave me the second team. And the second team, they cherry-picked all the good kids on one team because I didn't know any of them. So I'm a guy here, and I had a kid that had cerebral palsy. He was in braces. I had, you name it, it was like the Bad News Bears. We didn't win a game all season, but we competed. And when we would have to travel, because I had a racially mixed of kids, I had black kids, Asian kids, Puerto Rican kids, everybody, and we're traveling around to the Great White South, to these little things. So I got my paratrooper guys in my platoon. I got some of the biggest guys that you ever saw of all different races and nationalities, and they would be my base coaches.
Yeah.
And we would pull into town, and these people were looking at us coming out the military team. I walk right up to the coach and say, "We're a terrible baseball team. We'll try real hard. You're not going to beat us, but I am putting up with no racial crap." Right? And everybody treated us like gold. Well, of course, I had enormous guys with me, but you know, the kid that had his leg braces on, he's now 40 years old, and he's a high school wrestling coach. That kid still calls me coach to this day. It's been over 20-something years, and I let the kid start at catcher, and he couldn't run, but he'd hit, and magically the kid would overthrow first base, you know, stuff like that. But there was, it's just stuff like that. That guy, he find him on Facebook, and he still calls me coach.
So the thing that I always try to tell people is if you never get out and volunteer, you'll never experience those moments.
No.
If you never get out of your own personal stuff, which is important to you, you'll never experience, you never meet those people. I mean, it's, you know, I was not ready to quit coaching, right? I was told not to coach anymore. And the thing that was the hardest was all those kids that had put faith in you, and now now you're not there.
Yeah.
You know, and all these kids that you just, you know, I started with my son's age group of kids, and through that you meet another group and another group and another group, and you get attached to all of them.
Yep.
And,
absolutely.
You know, I always coached from a similar perspective, and people always say, like, you know, I said, no, I'm telling you those things because those are the things I did wrong. That is where I'm coming from when I tell you how to do something. It was never about sports. Like, I'm not telling you how to catch a football or swing a bat. I'm telling you how to make decisions because I made a lot of bad ones, you know.
Absolutely.
And that was always kind of, you know, the similar vein for me. You know, the thing that you've talked about a lot that is a very complicated issue is the homeless issue.
Yeah.
And you are a living example of both sides of that coin. You know, what are we doing here, right? Yeah. Take my example, do it the way I did it. I this, me, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you have, you know, and then you even have another layer to it where there's different approaches to. And I'd like to get your, you know, I'm not going to ask you to solve the homeless problem. I don't think anyone's done it yet.
No.
But I'd like to get a little bit more of your perspective about not your approach to it, but where the conflict about how to help homeless people comes from. You know, there's a lot of different schools of thought. There's a lot of different people. That's probably the biggest issue is you have one homeless guy who really needs that thing. You got one homeless guy who needs real mental help. I mean, tell me a little bit about what you've experienced.
That's a work in progress. Being that you've been a coach and being a sergeant in the Army is just like being a coach, except bullets fly. What I try to do is when I get an individual, whether it be a soldier or a person, I don't care what you did before I met you, because you start at ground zero with me. Your yes means yes, and you're going to hear me say this. Your yes means yes, and your no means no. So when you tell me yes, you're going to be here, or I'm going to come and find you. All right? So dealing with the homeless, there are guys that like being homeless, and no matter what you do or show them, they just don't want to do it. And a lot of those guys were institutionalized in prison. For example, we have different groups of homeless out here. There's homeless down in Old Bullhead. They're there for a reason, because they can go to the casino, and there is places they could stay in Old Bullhead, up in the hills behind the fire department, run down to the park and sleep under a cabana during the day, stay up all night. A lot more drugs in that part. It's a tendency to be more drugs. There is a group of homeless people that hang around Catholic Charities, because that's where they're always tied to that point. There are more homeless people out in Fort Mojave area, like if you drive the back way to go to the range, go to the range. There's people living in broke down trailers out in the middle
All
of
the
the
way
desert.
out there. I hadn't been out shooting in a long time.
Yeah,
and when I went out,
I
that
go
was
out
eye-opening.
weekly. I go out there weekly. I'll catch people in the summertime walking on that dirt road down there. I stop and go, where are you going? I need to get water. Well, where are you going? Down to Walmart. You're going to walk, get in the truck, I take them down and get them water, bring them back, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's got a different reason. And drug addiction is the big thing. The meth is a killer out here. It's not really heroin, because the guys ain't got the money for that, or they don't got the resources. It's meth. Meth seems to be everywhere. And either you're on meth or you're off meth. And there's people that are struggling every day with that. I'm not a drug counselor, because I've never been addicted to drugs, although I drank alcohol for 50 years. I'm not an alcoholic. But, and then you wake up throwing up in the morning. But no, I'm just saying, I kind of get that. But and once again, it goes back to, if you trust God and you start believing in yourself. And some of these guys that I actually got out of the thing that were drug addicts, guy with a gun in his mouth, trying to commit suicide, and you sit them down, and if you could get them to listen, just to talk to them as a human being. Now, some guys are mentally gone. You can talk to them while they're out in La La Land. They need mental help. We probably need to have a mental hospital here again at some point, but once again, all these things gets into money and big business. You try to do the best you can with what you got, so at the end of time, when you got to stand up there in front of Jesus and say, atone for what you did, I tried. I did everything I could. And a lot of people can't get over that. They don't understand. Why do you keep doing this every day? He's going to disappoint you. I know he's going to disappoint me, but I got to keep giving him a shot. Yeah. I'm not trusting him with money. I'd have him work, and I'd give him $20 for doing a job, and 2 minutes later, they're completely gone. They found drugs. It's that easy. So some guys you can't give money to, but I could give them a meal, and I could get them clothes and get them a pair of shoes or something. And you gotta love yourself a little bit, and a lot of these people don't love themselves. Yeah. So there's not a magical answer. I mean, you could take yourself out of poverty, you could take yourself out of that. And one of the things I was talking about with my pastor this year was, it's a new year, but nothing's going to change in the new year unless you change. If you don't change your attitude and what I guess they call it repenting, and repenting is when you're going this way, and all of a sudden you have an epiphany, and you go, oh, wait a minute, I should actually go that way. And until you have that come to Jesus moment, and you go, wait a minute, this ain't working out that way. I'll go that way. People tell me, I got guys in the men's home from Washington State. I got a guy in there from Connecticut, where I grew up, and I'm going, you went from Connecticut out to Arizona. How did that happen? Well, I thought I would be better in Oklahoma. Well, you're in Arizona. Well, it didn't work out better in Oklahoma, so I went to Arizona. And what are you doing now? Well, now I'm homeless. I'm like, just because you change your location, if you don't change your habits, you're not going to change. Yep. You're not going to change. Nothing different's going to happen. If you live in Bullhead and you think it sucks, and you don't do anything to change it, it's not going to change. I look at this as a great place to live. I'm going to die here. I will die in this town. I don't plan on going unless God moves me again. But when I was a kid, I thought I was going to live in Florida. I visit Florida. I got a family in Florida, but I lived everywhere. I lived any stupid place you can imagine. I lived in Idaho. I lived in Alaska. I lived in Louisiana in the swamps where the mosquitoes are as big as that. I've lived a lot of crazy. I lived in Korea, and in order to use the bathroom was a hole in the ground, and you were in a barn with a cow. And there was a hole in the ground, and they had a rope that you had to grab on the back of the door handle and kind of lean like you're getting ready to repel. And you had to take poops in a hole like that and not fall in the hole. And don't be bringing your phone in there. That's going well, we didn't have phones then, but
makes it tough to read a magazine too. So.
I was in a bar in the Philippines, and the Philippines is weird because they'll build houses that there's metal about this high. And then it's cage, and then there's a roof, so you get a breeze. But that's how the bathroom is. So you're in there taking a leak, and people are walking by, and you're talking to them. And and when it rains, rats are running up the outside of the building.
Wow.
It's crazy. I've been a lot of crazy places, but it's all about where you make it. So life is about what you make it, what you decide to do. So if you're doing something the same every day and you expect it to change, it ain't.
It's very true, and I think a lot of people are realizing that. There's a lot of very interesting. I think a little bit of it is where you're at in life. I'm 43. I got a 19-year-old son, a 13-year-old daughter, and seeing the way they feel about things, whether it be social media, whatever the cultural thing of the day is, and but it really there's a little bit of a where. I think social media ruled people for a long time. And there's a lot of pushback to that now, and people are realizing that you can't be living, your mind can't be where you're not actually. You need to be right in here, or nothing else is going to be right. And I think that's probably a little bit of that, people coming back to church, people coming back to religion.
Yeah, the church at Praise Chapel, once again, the ugliest church in the city. But if you go to that church, you will feel the presence of Jesus in there, because we have a misfit, what my wife calls it, misfit church. I dragged her to church. She was like me. She was in the bars, hanging out, doing everything. And I got her to come back to church. And I'm blessed that I have a wife that puts up with my crap. At one time in my life, you're 43. My son is as old as you, my oldest son. At one time in my life with my third wife, my son was older than my wife. My grandson was older than my daughter. And when I walked my daughter to kindergarten, and I was 45 at that time, when I walked my daughter to kindergarten, I was taking her to kindergarten as a 45-year-old, and the little kid tugged on my shoulder, tugged on my pant leg, and I go, "Hi." She goes, are you Casey's daddy? That's my daughter's name's Casey. And I looked at the little girl. Yes, I am. She goes, how come you look like a grandpa? I come here, kid.
Yeah.
But I used to go on their
Who
field
asked
trip.
you anyway?
No, they're all it's all cool. But it's life throws you a curve. You don't expect you're doing this and you can do that. And your kids are now 19 and 20, you said?
19 and 13.
Yeah. Your greatest thing is when your kids do better than you do.
Yeah.
Like my son, he took what I did and took it to the next level.
Yeah.
Like I got kicked off the JV football team because I was a knucklehead, and my kid was all city in football. I went in the Army. I was a paratrooper. I'd served 20 years, never fired a shot in anger. I was on the DMZ in Korea for 2 years. Nothing ever happened. I retire. My son decided to join the Army, be a paratrooper. A year later, he's in Iraq. The worst year of my life. The first time Iraq was going on. And my kid they promoted him to sergeant the night they crossed the line into Iraq from Saudi Arabia and everything. So that was a tough year. My kid did a year in combat. He was a door kicker. Had to kill people at 19 years old. Coincidentally, I came across a veteran here in Veterans Court, another 19-year-old from this town here, joined the Marine Corps, 3 combat tours in Iraq, and the war messed him up. And served his country. A guy tried to murder him in his sleep, a fellow Marine, got cut in the neck. They had to put him out of the Marine Corps, so he's 100% disabled, retired Marine, got in trouble with the law because coming out here and not having a family support system and trying to decompress. So two guys the same age, one's my kid, one's like a son to me, that I had to go through a lot of stuff with this guy. And currently he's has a job, working, not in trouble with the law, going through the
That's
Veterans
amazing.
Court, things like that. But you just, like, once again, we were talking about volunteering. If you got free time and you're a retired guy, everybody could do something to help somebody out. They're out there. There's people walking down the street. There's a guy named Millage. He's a black gentleman. He's probably like 40, and I see him walking every day.
Is it the tall, thin guy?
Yep, and he's always walking with a plastic bag, and he's hauling butt, right?
Yeah.
And I made it a point to stop and put my truck in front, get in the truck, and I will. Nope. He's a God-fearing man. Nope, God wants me to walk. He's walking from his house to his mother's house, and he's bringing her stuff from the grocery store every day.
Wow.
So I see him all the time.
I've seen him for years.
Yeah, for years he's been out there, and he's a great guy. If you ever get a chance to talk to him, he's awesome. I finally got him. It was pouring rain the other day. I dragged him into the truck and gave him a ride to his mom's house. But every day, nope, I'm good. You know, I feel bad. He walks every day. There's a million people. There's another lady that walks in my neighborhood, the Safeway, every morning. She's a Jamaican lady named Gloria. And I finally, like when it's really hot or windy, I make her get in the car so I can give her a ride. Something simple like that, just helping somebody out, it'll make your life feel better.
So
and these
down at the
people are
used car
everywhere.
center, early in the morning, we'll see people walking almost daily to get from wherever to wherever, and we don't know their situation, but they're walking every morning. You know, sometimes with a cart, sometimes not, and you know, we know it's 40-mile-an-hour wind sometimes, cold and nasty, it's raining, and you know, you just kind of see these folks, and they just become, you know, terribly just like a fixture. You just
Yep, it's just scenery. You know, and the one thing you got to listen to that inner voice. That inner voice is Jesus. That's the Holy. I should pick that guy up. Oh man, he's going the wrong way, and you go by. And it's those little instances in your life that's where you missed an opportunity to do something for somebody. And before, because you get caught up, I have to get to work, I can't pick that guy up. Well, really, you're going to spend 15 minutes in Starbucks trying to get a coffee, and you couldn't have flipped around, done a U-E, and give them a ride, even if they said no. You know, it's those little things that people, you get caught up in all the noise of Facebook and all this other crap that you miss those little moments of humanity that
You know
can
what
change
you're
somebody's
describing is the world I grew up in when I was a kid.
life. Absolutely.
And I grew up in small rural Pennsylvania, and I remember many a times you just pull over and just help people or do it. And I was a kid, so I'm through my grandparents, my dad, my whomever.
What part of Pennsylvania?
I was born in Sharon, Pennsylvania. It's about an hour north of Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay. I got you.
So my son is going to college 15 minutes from where I grew up.
Oh, that's cool. That's
Just
very cool.
Wildest,
Yep.
you know, wildest scenario ever.
1974, I went to the Boy Scout Jamboree in Moraine State Park. That's not far from where
No,
yeah.
no,
As
it's very
I went to
cool.
Pennsylvania. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I'm from Connecticut. We grew
Yeah.
up a couple hundred miles apart.
Yep, and you know that Western Pennsylvania. It's funny because I've been back there a lot with my son in school. I think I went and saw him 5-6 times this year. And although it is modern, they still have a little bit of that old school neighborly existence back there. And there's something very like warming about it. It's a very, very different vibe. And I don't know if it's because we have such a collection of people here from different places or what the reason being is. But every time I go back there, and I just go, wow, this is how I remember home.
Funny you said that because that's what I feel about Bullhead.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at Bullhead on the map, like the river comes down and there's a big bulge right there. I call that the bubble because it looks like a beer belly, right? And the
It's
bubble would be like Hancock Road all the way to the river, and from Rotary Park all the way up to Holiday Shores area. That's where I live. I live in the heart of that. And you got a little bit of everything. You got some $1 million homes next to a trailer that's worth
Yeah.
$100 grand, and all different kind of people. And daily, I'm riding or not daily now, I'm old, but I'm riding my bike around that neighborhood. And I can literally say I've been on every street in this city. There's not a street in this city I haven't either ridden my bike down or drove my truck down. And I feel that here.
Yeah.
Living in California prior to me living out here, because I thought California was the place I want to be,
Yeah.
but not really.
Just the weather. That's all you wanted.
Yeah. Well, the parks here. Our kids play in our parks.
Yeah.
The BMW, the BMX track, the skate park, kids play in the park here. You go to California, you got beautiful parks. Nobody's in them except the homeless, and people helping each other. I'll ride my bicycle and probably if I pass, everybody says hello. And they don't
awesome.
do that in California.
Yeah.
Like, who are you? What are you talking to me? What do you want? And I didn't know my neighbors in California. I knew 2 of them because we were close. But here I know the whole street.
Yeah.
I literally know who that guy belongs at that house. And we're still a small town. And we got rich people that live up on the Parkway. And we got basically a bunch of middle-class people here which are just trying to make ends meet.
Yeah.
And if you don't be so bitter about Toby's doing this and it's the little good old boys and yada yada. Well, I'm now part of the city council. There is no good old boys in the city council. Yeah. I give Toby shit every council meeting. My thing.
Listen, I really like Toby. I try to give him shit every time I see him.
Yeah.
Toby, why am I paying all these taxes? Toby, why am I doing this? He's like, Shane.
I keep telling him I'm gonna name name the airport after him. I'm gonna name something just to piss people off. I told him I wanted the golf course to be the Toby Cotter Memorial Golf Course.
That'd be great.
That would just piss everybody off.
Yeah.
All the and a lot of the people that bitch at city council, like Scotty, and there's a good guy named Harvey Pryor, and some of the other people, Sean, and those are people that get up and complain a lot. The new city council, I can honestly say all the new people that got elected to the city council, we got a pretty good city council.
Yeah.
We got 5 out of the 6 of them volunteer regularly at some kind of a charity. You don't know about that, but they're behind the scenes doing stuff.
Good folks.
And I'll be donating something somewhere, and they're there, and stuff like that. But I make friends with Scotty. I've been to Scotty's house. I've been to talk to these people.
So the interesting thing about a lot of those folks is, I don't want to be insulting to anyone. They come off as an annoyance to people, but they're a very necessary part of things. They have to, they're really good at opening discussions, saying things people don't want to say. And you may not like to hear it sometimes, but sometimes, not all of it, you need to hear. Yep. And I think that's kind of the way about a lot of things. And I will tell you, and we'll wrap this up. Like I said, I would do this all day if I could.
Yep.
But you had said on there that, hey, I'm easy to talk to. I'll talk to anybody.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you, a lot of people say that, and a lot of people don't come down and talk to us. So I'm very grateful, first of all. And really what I wanted to do was give people a chance to get to know you.
Thank you.
I didn't have any sneaky agenda for either side of anything. Mm-hmm. It was, man, look at this guy, who he is, what he's about. Man, let's give this guy an opportunity to tell people who he is. And I think you've done a great job of that.
I appreciate that.
I really enjoyed talking with you. I'm very appreciative of especially this day and age, you're seeing the impact that mayors and city councils can have on cities in a bad way. And I'm very grateful that you guys are out there making the best decision you can for us, the people of this community. So, Gene, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you. I will invite you back anytime, whether it be to talk, and you can bring someone with you if you ever would like to talk about the homeless situation, your church, city council, whatever that would be. We really enjoy having the platform for people to come in and talk about places where they really don't have a chance to do it normally.
I will hit you up with that. I got a couple things. There's something big happening in the city, and once I'm allowed to say that, I'll come back and break it here. I got some good things like that. And there's a lot of good people in this city. It doesn't matter your status. There's a lot of good people. Honestly, if people really knew car people, that we're not the big bad guys that people think. We're just regular dudes trying to make a living, trying to do it as honestly as we can. Yeah. Mr. Bancroft's a great guy. The guys, the Anderson family is good people. Mm-hmm. I owe them a lot. There's a lot of kids that went back and forth. One of your top dog, Sid
Yeah.
Casillas, he's like a kid to me. His dad's my buddy at the bike shop.
Yeah.
We're both in the chat, and they said hi.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's you don't even know. Sid's dad's donated over 15 bicycles last year to me to get these guys transportation, so they don't have to rely on buses and stuff. He's
great.
an unsung hero. Him and Eddie that work down there at the thing, they've done a lot of great stuff.
And there's so many people like that. And I will say this, though. There are a handful of people who do a lot of the heavy lifting in the volunteer world, whether it be, at the food bank, at Kiwanis, at wherever it is. It's a lot of the same people. But when people come in and do what they can when they can, it helps them a lot to do their thing a lot more. So I've been out there enough to know, what everybody does. And like I said, I'm very grateful you took some time to come down and talk with us.
I enjoyed
Listen, I could probably just talk about your life for an hour, but I'm glad we got out all the things we do, man. I'm very grateful to have you. So appreciate you very much, sir.
you.
It was a
Appreciate
pleasure.
it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, guys.
Chevrolet GMC. Dependable Chevrolets, powerful GMCs, advanced technology, comfort, capability, friendly team, stress-free visits, certified service and quality you can trust. Visit us today.